Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, the California Supreme Court rules against same-sex marriage.
There's something wrong with that.
Today you'll see a show that we taped on this controversial subject.
Marriage is between a man and a woman.
Where do you stand?
We're just like you, straight America.
The fact is you've actually lost in a bona fide election.
Sparking racial controversy.
You have never met an ex-black person.
This has been given to us by God.
You participated in a campaign filled with lies.
All right. Hold it. No. It is a topic that has polarized the nation. We recently did a show debating this hot-button topic, same-sex marriage. Is it right or is it wrong? Our audience would split down the middle on the issue, and we had a very passionate panel of distinguished experts on hand. Here's a recap of what went down.
What do you want? Civil rights. When do you want them? Now.
The passage of Proposition 8 has sparked outrage tonight. It bans same-sex marriage here in California.
We are not anti-gay. We're pro-marriage between a man and a woman. And there's a huge difference.
Marriage is between a man and a woman.
They did nothing except this, fall in love and say, I do.
We're just like you, straight America. We love our son and we love each other and want the rights of every other family in America.
The people on my left believe very much in the right to have a gay marital union. The people on my right think the institution of marriage should only be extended to a union between one man and one woman. Let's meet our very distinguished panel. In support of same-sex marriage, San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom. Joe Solmonese, president of the Human Rights Campaign, equal rights advocate and attorney Gloria Allred. On the other side of this issue are Pastor Jim Garlow, Maggie Gallagher of the National Organization of Marriage, and Jeff Flint from Yes on 8 campaign.
As a follower of Jesus Christ, I believe the Bible clearly states it begins with a marriage and it ends with a wedding. I believe the will of the people should be upheld.
The idea of submitting the rights of an oppressed minority to the whims of a majority is the reason we have a constitution.
Isn't it possible to be equal but different?
Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. The notion that separate is now somehow equal?
It's not discrimination to treat different things differently.
Jennifer, tell me how these two being recognized as married by the state of California erodes the institution of your marriage.
Wow. Marriage is about bringing together the two great halves of humanity, male and female, in part so that children can know and be known by and love their own mother and father.
It is not as palatable or popular as it used to be a bigot.
No American should be subjected to a campaign calling them haters and bigots, threatening their property, threatening their persons, threatening their livelihoods because they peacefully and lawfully participated in the democratic process.
There are claims from both sides that the campaign ads were misleading.
Mom, guess what I learned in school today?
What, sweetie?
I learned how a prince married a prince, and I can marry a princess.
Have you seen the TV ads for Prop 8? They're absolutely not true, says California's superintendent of public schools.
4 judges ignored 4 million voters and imposed same-sex marriage on California.
This door's wide open now. It's gonna happen, whether you like it or not.
What you're hearing from whether you like it or not is that there's only one acceptable position on this, and I'll tell you, the American people are getting pretty tired of it.
I'm really sorry that you didn't do your homework, because let me tell you what the facts are. Yeah, and here are the facts and nothing but the facts. No one is being required to learn about same-gender marriage.
Were those misleading? Were they unfair?
They're absolutely not misleading. Children were taught about it in schools.
What our community is as upset about as this defeat is the fact that it was a defeat that was orchestrated on a bunch of lies.
Do you think the church should stay out of state and political issues?
The fact is, I didn't check my brains or my convictions or my Bible when I formed my view.
No religious person is going to be required to perform a marriage, Dr. Phil.
Is there a way to find common ground in some way between these two sides? Well, maybe we found a little common ground. But as you just saw, the discussion got pretty lively. So lively that we kept the cameras rolling after the show. Take a look.
Hi, I just wanted to quickly touch and say that I'm a product of a gay marriage. Well, actually, unfortunately, my uncle, my father, couldn't get married. I was raised by two men, and I want to say I think they did an exceptional job. My home was nothing but wonderful. We had traditional family values. We had holidays. I saw nothing but love and healthy things were invited in my home. And those two men did a phenomenal job. And when my uncle died back in 2002, my father was not entitled to his Social Security rights. We had to get a directive to even go into the ICU because we were not considered immediate family. This man raised me for 27 years of my life, and I could barely hold his hand when he died. So it should be for everybody. Please just change, open your heart a little bit. My family was good. My father and my uncle are amazing men.
All right, thank you. All right, this side, stand up. Okay, I need a mic person to just stand by over here because we're going to be going back and forth. Yes, go ahead.
My question's a little bit more specific. I'm a Latter-day Saint, and there's been a lot of backlash specifically towards Latter-day Saints because of the funds that were raised. 150 years ago, the government marched in and sent an army out to Utah to stop polygamy, and we said, okay, this is not the way that they're going to do it in America, and we try to be upstanding citizens. Why are we the target of the hate when we are the only people that have given up the marriage that we used to practice? That's...
Joe? I want to be really clear about this, that the reason that people are protesting in front of Mormon temples is not because you don't have the right to participate, but you, of all people, should know that you participated in a campaign filled with lies and misleading information. And that is why, and you articulated it absolutely right. You face the same sort of persecution for some rather unconventional views on marriage, I might add. And so our community is responding and pointing that out. And we are going to do that every day for the next 2 years or 4 years until we take this to the people again and we have a different outcome.
Okay, now hold on. This is a point where I want to kind of do some of the things that I want to do, because what I try to do is ask the questions that I think the viewer at home, there are millions of people watching this right now. Some of them are yelling at their TV screens for different reasons. Absolutely. No, seriously, they're yelling at and they may be yelling at each other on the couch, which will create me lots of business in the future. But seriously, what do this side of the room has talked about the vicious lies that have been told. What are the biggest lies? And I want to ask this side to respond to those. What's the number one lie that you think misrepresented things to the voters?
Well, I think that the idea that this was going to be taught in schools, the idea that the religious leaders would have to conduct these marriages. But the thing that you asked an important question, how we find common ground. I think the most interesting point in this show was when Jennifer was asked the question about how their marriage, David's and his partner's marriage, impacts hers, and you weren't quite able to articulate how that happened. And I say that because I think for all of us to open our hearts to what's really going on here, what we ought to be talking about is the real disparities and the real inequities that they face, and that they face in the loss of marriage equality. I don't think that good people, I don't think that good Christians want anyone to suffer, want anyone's families to be harmed or be treated inequitably in any way. And I don't think that we fully discussed that, and I don't think that you would want that for anyone.
Jim, respond.
Well, there's a number of impact that it has anytime the government sanctions same-sex relations or same-sex marriage. If you're not aware of this, it is, in fact, what happened in Massachusetts. Parents were stripped of their rights. Number two, Ocean Grove, New Jersey, was stripped of its tax exemption when it said, no, we're not going to perform lesbian ceremonies. As we watch this model in Europe and other countries, for example, Åke Green in Sweden, when he preached on Romans...
Let him finish.
When Åke Green, a Swedish pastor, where they have laws like this, preached on Romans chapter 1 where it references homosexuality, he was promptly sentenced to a month in jail, went through a series of court, all the way to the Supreme Court of Sweden, and there's loss of freedom on the part of business people. They're informed that your religious convictions do not count anymore. You cannot operate according to that.
As I said at the beginning of this show, as soon as we start talking about the merits of marriage equality in the state of California, we leave California. And we've gone all the way to Europe. And why is
that? Because that's a model. It's working there. We see what happens there.
No, actually, it's not. is not a model. We're talking about California
In Massachusetts,
law.
it certainly has been
again,
for 4 years.
I'm talking about California. I don't know that you're licensed to practice law in California. I think you're not. I am, and I'd like to talk about California law, all right?
And I'm licensed to practice theology wherever.
Just say.
It wasn't just the experts throwing punches in this debate. Things got pretty heated with our audience members as well. That's next.
Do you think it would have been appropriate to submit the rights of interracial couples to popular opinion?
This is a struggle for people to have basic rights. You have never met an ex-black person. You have never met an